What is the scariest thing you've ever seen while driving at night? I was following a gray Toyota Tundra in a massive blizzard through Montana on McDonald Pass. He was going pretty quick most of the way, but must have been unfamiliar with how steep the final few miles are. He got away from me as I slowed down to about 35 knots. 5 minutes later, I passed his tire marks in the fresh snow that went off the side of the mountain. Pulled over and looked down to see his truck upside down and on fire about 300 yards down. Called 911. He didn't die, but was burnt up pretty bad. Sad and scary, and don't go 50 in the snow just because you have a truck or four-wheel drive. I've heard it said before, but I'll say it again. Four-wheel drive isn't four-wheel stop. Someone I knew locally came across a Jeep that had just crashed into the ditch on a highway at night, flipped on its top wheel still turning, kind of thing. He was the first on scene, so called 911 and ran down into the ditch. The driver, who was badly mangled, had been tossed from the car and was dying. This guy held him, and the driver died in his arms. The weirdest part of it all was that he found out the next day that it was his cousin, but he hadn't been able to recognize him. I hope the guy who died was comforted by knowing a family member was with him. I dropped my girlfriend off the night we saw the Methman Prophecies. It wasn't a super scary movie, but it had some scares. I take the interstate home. On the way, there is a curve where there aren't any lights. Just a dark stretch of interstate. As I came around the bend, there was a guy in a black trench coat walking along the side of the road. As it was about 3 a.m., I guess I started him. So, when my headlights hit him, he whipped around, and I swear, he stared me right in the eyes. My heart jumped into my throat. The whole event lasted maybe 2 seconds tops, but it had my heart racing. Not paranormal, but definitely scary for me. I slammed the brakes once because I saw a deer in my peripheral vision. Upon closer inspection, it was a mounted deer head on a stick in the middle of the woods. Slammed the gas after I realized that. Might have been a setup by game wardens to catch illegal poachers at night. Or do they sit somewhere and watch? Or do they usually have cameras set up? In my state, they sit hidden down the road. They got these mechanical deer things that look pretty real, and they try to get people to shoot them, and then they get arrested for poaching, I guess. Maybe not poaching, but they'll definitely seize your firearms and give you a hefty fine for shooting from a vehicle, which I believe is illegal in every state, but I could be wrong about that. Yes, you can't shoot within 50 yards of a road, and you can't shoot out of a vehicle. Double fine. What about drunk on a motorcycle? Only if you're dual-wielding users. Dad was driving at night, and I was looking out the window and saw 2 red pinpricks in the cornfield, and it followed us. I told my dad about it, and he said, in the most calm, casual tone for this situation, "Those are cornfield demons. Stay in the car, and you'll be okay." Cue me freaking the hell out when he got out of the car not too long after to check a tire before getting back in. I'm still not sure if that was an actual thing, or if he was using a situation to his advantage to teach me to not do anything stupid like that at night. Either ways, it worked, and I still have no idea what those 2 pinpricks were. When I first started learning to drive, I was working for my dad, and one day after work, he asked if I wanted to drive home. I was like, alright. So, I got on the highway, headed for home, and while driving, I looked in the rearview, and a guy on a crotch rocket was coming up behind me. I thought nothing of it. I was sure he would pass or slow down. I look ahead again, and a few moments later, I hear the sound like metal scraping against the ground. I look around, and then look back into the rear view, and the bike was on its side, spinning down the highway, and behind it, I could see the biker on his back, legs and arms flailing, kind of like a baby on its back in a crib. Then, I watched as he disappeared under the vehicle behind him. I was so freaked out, driving after that, I didn't want to drive for weeks following the incident. Then, eventually got over it. Still, I can see the guy in my mind, just sliding along the ground, flailing about, and being swallowed under another car. was fetching someone from his workplace. Had to go through some fields, and some parts of the road were dark. I saw a thin, long object, wiggling, at an upright position, at the side of the road, in front of me. Totally freaked me out. I thought I was finally experiencing something extraordinary. As I got closer, I realized it was a tail of a cow. It must have escaped from some field, and was hanging around, at the side of the road. The cow itself was black, the tail slightly lighter in color. That's why I only saw the tail moving first, without seeing the whole cow first. Whilst driving from Morelia to Ciudad Hidalgo in Mexico, back in the 80s, we had two ways to get to Ciudad Hidalgo, which was the National Road, or the old National Road, which was called Mil Cumbres. Mil Cumbres basically means 1,000 curves. That stretch of road literally had 1,000 curves, so a lot of people would get motion sickness when on that road. One evening, on our way back to my grandparents, who lived in Ciudad Hidalgo, my grandfather was driving. He loved taking Mil Cumbres because it had really nice views, and he just really loved driving that road. But since we have the new national road, not a lot of people use that road anymore, so it was kind of desolate, with the exception of passing one or two little towns. It was dusk so soon. That meant that, being on such a desolate road, in the mountains, we would be in complete darkness, on the road, with not many other cars, on the same stretch of road. It took 2 hours to get to the town, on that road, so maybe 45 minutes into the drive, it had already gotten really dark, and as we were driving, my grandfather started slowing down. I was sitting in the back seat, because my grandmother was in the front, with my grandfather, so I kind of stood over the front chairs, to see why he was slowing down. That's when I saw a huge tree log, blocking the road. My grandfather came to a stop, and immediately started going in reverse, to turn around, and get out, immediately. After we turned, my grandfather stepped on the gas pedal, and I was sort of thrown back, into the back seat. I immediately turned around to see anything, and, as we were speeding away, I could see men, very dimly, since it's the light from the taillights from the car were starting to get dimmer and dimmer, coming from out of the adjacent trees, next to tree log on the road, with flashlights and guns. We were about to get run, and thanks to my grandfather's quick thinking and taking action, immediately, we avoided it. That was the last time I was ever on that road. I had just finished driving for Uber, and I was driving down the access road to my home around 3 a.m. when I saw a body lying, completely lifeless, next to one of those motorized scooters. I pulled over and flagged down his buddies, who were drunk, and kept going, without realizing their friend was lying on the ground. Ambulance arrived and took the kid away, but I never came to find out if he made it. F those scooters, man. I've witnessed 4 people crash those scooters at my time at college so far. One in particularly was really bad. I was on a public bus, heading to my car to drive home after classes, and was just minding my own business, looking out the window with my headphones in, and then I see this middle-aged Asian man riding along on one of those scooters. Then suddenly, the front wheel must have hit a large hole or something, and he immediately launched over the front of it, face planted and fully scorpioned. The bus continued moving forward, but I kept trying to look back to see if he was okay, and all I saw was blood gushing out of his nostrils and face scratched to hell. I'll never forget seeing that. Edit 2, so the second crash I saw occurred while I was walking to the Union from the Oval. If anyone goes to Ohio State, you'll probably know what I mean. So, there's a really steep downhill path that goes into an intersection of 4 different paths, and as I was walking down the hill, I noticed a tour group in front of me coming up the hill. I slightly heard the hum of 2 scooters behind me, and before I knew it, 2 guys, who I think were athletes of some kind, because they have the Ohio State backpacks that all the athletes get when they come to OSU, and I'm talking big dudes, like probably over 200 lbs, so basically, they go flying down the hill, past me, not knowing there's a tour group coming towards them, and immediately, one swerved past them, and the other went into the grass to avoid them, and immediately ate dust. The funny part was, they were just at a dining hall, and the one that crashed was still holding his drink, and that pretty much flew everywhere. Well, that's all for today's video. Thank you for watching Team 7. This is the end of the video. Be sure to click the subscribe button for free cake, as well as hit the bell for unlimited luck. Have a good day everyone. Goodbye.